Hello and welcome to a special edition of Suzi's Book Bag, hosted by me, Suzifeay, in which I reveal the winners and shortlistees of the Baggie Awards 2024. To be eligible for a Baggie, all you have to do is come on the show and chat to me about your book. And we will come up with the winners of the various different categories, which are fiction, non-fiction, poetry, and children's books, and maybe a little special extra category or two along the way. So let's begin. It's been a very strong year for non-fiction, especially music. We've had the wonderful Daniel Rachel talking about two-tone, and Simon Price talking about his mighty book on the Cure, Curepedia. We had a wonderful discussion about Croydon, the much maligned borough, with Will Noble, who has made it his mission to tell us all how wonderful Croydon really is. And then there's been Rachel Cockrell talking about her amazing book, Melting Point, which is a look at the part her family have played in the founding of Israel. Fascinating discussions all. But to come up with the shortlist for the non-fiction, I went for the nominees are Painting in Stone by Fabio Barry, The Haunted Wood by Sam Leith, and Catland by Catherine Hughes. I don't seem to have managed to put those in alphabetical order, but those were three of the discussions that I really enjoyed having this year in the book bag. So which of the three is going to win the non-fiction baggie of the year? Stay tuned. And in fiction, equally, we've had some very interesting conversations. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Andrew Macmillan. He is a poet, but he's written a debut novel called Pity, which is about mining and masculinity and identity. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. But the fiction shortlist, again, I'll try and put these into alphabetical order. But I'm going to begin with Chris Chalmers' Fenella's Fair Share. Such an enjoyable conversation about the wonderful Fenella and the problems that she has with men and living in a difficult flat and going on holiday. Really fun book. Kieran Goddard's I See Buildings Fall Like Lightning is not only a fantastic novel, but we had a really interesting discussion as well. And rounding up the fiction shortlist, I went for Louisa Traeger's The Paris Muse, the fascinating story of Dora Maar, the weeping woman of Picasso, but actually so much more interesting than that mere fact would indicate. So again, see who wins the fiction baggie in a moment. I will reveal all. In poetry and also in children's fiction, it wasn't a particularly difficult decision to make because there's only one, this is my bad, there's only one person in each category, but the books are amazing. The writers are fantastic. I recommend them to you. So in poetry, we have Martin Rosen. He's a very late arrival in the field of poetry, being a fantastic cartoonist for many, many years. And he sort of turned to very satirical, even quite dark, rhyming poetry with his Limerickiad, History of English Literature in Limericks. He's one of those wonderful people who rhymes so crisply and unexpectedly. It's very formal work, and indeed, so the winning poetry baggie for, I'm going to call it the asterisk unciad. In case there are any children listening, it is a sort of remix of Alexander Pope's Dunciad, And if you recall that, Alexander Pope was fulminating about his era in 4 books of vicious rhymed verse. So Martin has taken on the challenge. I mean, it's another sort of real 2024 book because there's so many people we love to hate in it. It's very, very funny. It's very, very clever. As I say, the rhyming is superb and very funny. So he's a worthy poetry winner, even though he's the only poet I actually interviewed this year. Well done, Martin. Similarly with children's books, I haven't covered an awful lot of them, so it's no surprise that the winner is The 12 by the wonderful Liz Hyder. This is a sort of Alan Garner-esque time slip story, impeccably written, thrilling, exciting, mysterious. There are standing stones, there's shape-shifting. There are adults who might not be quite what they appear to be, and intrepid teenage heroes, a hero and a heroine, and it's such an enjoyable book. So worthy Baggie winner. Not so much first among equals, but first among one. But well done, Les, well done, Martin. And so on to, they are, of course, both eligible for the Baggie of the Year. That's the overall book of the year, but hold your horses, we'll get there. So non-fiction, as I say, it was a very strong year, very hard to come up with a short list. Really, everybody was great this year. Do check out the interviews. But the winner of the non-fic Baggie of the Year, I went for Catherine Hughes's Catland. It is so unusual, so original. It's the story of the cat artist Louis Wain, who did amazing drawings of kitties that pretty much everybody must have seen by now. They've entered popular culture. He moves from the Victorian through the Edwardian era, just up to the brink of the Second World War, and his slightly they're kind of psychedelic cats, and they're also doing very odd things. They're often fully clothed and doing things like getting married or going to war or swimming. I mean, they're very, very, he was a strange man. But what Catherine has done is to look at the era through the prism of Louis Wain and his work. And what it is it's a social history seen via ephemera. So we're used to history seen through the lens of great men and women and masterpieces and artworks and so on and so forth. But actually, most people are sort of drinking out of tea mugs and putting up quite ordinary prints on the walls and sending each other cards and postcards and things. So that's the ephemera side of things that Catherine Hughes covers so brilliantly in Catland. She looks at somebody who might be seen as just a commercial artist and finds such incredible richness and detail. Is also a story of the kind of change in status of cats themselves, from just people who lived out in the barn and people. I've got the Louis Wain idea now of cats wearing clothes. Cats are creatures that live in the barn, and they just control rodents. And through this period, Catherine argues very convincingly that they became the sort of beloved creatures, the personalities, the pets that we know and love now. So I loved Catland. It is the non-fiction Baggie winner 2024. Well done, Catherine. In fiction, in the end, I went for Kieran Goddard's I See Buildings Fall Like Lightning, the story of 5 friends in a suburb of Birmingham, which he spoke about on the bag very interestingly. He's a fascinating writer. Hourglass was his debut. He followed up very speedily with this one, which is always impressive. Hourglass, I mean, they're two very different books, so I was extremely impressed with that, and I thoroughly enjoyed wonderful chat with Kieran Goddard. So do check him out. He is the fiction Baggie winner this year. So looking at all of those, I do have to come up with a Baggie of the Year. Last year, you may recall, that was won by Chris Lotaris with his terrific book about Shakespeare's First Folio. It's 500 years. I can't do math. Anyway, it's one of the centenaries of the publication of the First Folio. So he won it with his story of how that came about, how this landmark in publishing came about, Shakespeare's book. So something has got to be as good as that to be our Baggie of the Year. I do have an extra Baggie, and I'm going to call this the Cathy Fay Baggie. This is named for my mum, who doesn't necessarily comment that often on our little interviews here, and every so often she'll say, I loved that. That was a great interview. So the winner of the Cathy Fay Special Baggie of the Year is Ariane Banks. Her book is called The Quality of Love. It's the story of her mother and her mother's twin sister and their unique positions sort of at the heart of the 20th century, mid-20th century literary world, hanging out with Orwell, Arthur Koestler, Camus, not just hanging out, but having relationships with. Fascinating story. Ariane tells it wonderfully. So you get a special pat on the back, Ariane, for being my mum's favourite this year. So, drum roll, the Baggie of the Year 2024. It is going to be Catland. Here we go. Well done, Catherine. Another non-fiction. Maybe next year it will be poetry or children's books. Here we have Catland, very worthy winner, both of the non-fiction Baggie of the Year and of the overall Baggie of the Year. I mean, check out these crazy kitties. Wonderful, wonderful book. So join me throughout 2025. I'll be bringing more amazing writers, maybe changing up a few things in the book bag. If you see me out and about, because I chair lots of events, do come up and say hi, drop me a line with any suggestions or leave a comment. I've done some wonderful events this year. Highlights have included Richard E. Grant, who I interviewed in Wimbledon, the always fun festival down in Wimbledon. And also Anton du Beke, another of my favourite places to go is Sevenoaks. And I interviewed Anton du Beke about his historical novels, and he was a riot. And he's also, because that was so much fun, I've now really got into Strictly, which I never was before. But yeah, I really loved meeting Anton. He was a blast. So it's been a great year, literary-wise, in the book bag. Do join me for more fun and frolics in 2025. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. And like and subscribe. Thank you.